Recently, I watched Sex and the City because why not? Throwback. And Carrie Bradshaw's character was so incredibly frustrating, particularly her off and on relationship with Mr. Big. Now, this is definitely not an original take. I think many women have complained about hating Carrie Bradshaw's character, and I think part of it is that she is mad annoying, but part of it is also that I think for a lot of us, she reminds us of a younger version of ourselves, a more immature version of ourselves. I thought this would be a really interesting case study in the fairy tale between the emotionally unavailable man and the insecure woman. So in this video, I'm going to share what I think is the psychology of Carrie Bradshaw, the countless mistakes she made with Mr. Big, all of the red flags of his that she ignored, and how I think she should have played it if she were smart. Before I get into it, let me know your thoughts on Carrie Bradshaw in the comments down below. I'm so excited to announce that my second novel, A Song at Dead Man's Cove, is now available for pre-order. If you love lush, atmospheric, haunting gothic horror, then this is the book for you. It's set in coastal Washington in two timelines, and it follows two protagonists, one in the modern times who fears intimacy, and one in the Victorian era who thinks stealing love will make her whole. So if this sounds up your alley, follow the link in my bio or in the pinned comment below so that you can pre-order your copy. Pre-orders are only available for ebooks at this time. The paperbacks and hardcovers will also become available once the book is released on June 2nd, 2025. Check it out and stay spooky. Now let's dunk on Carrie Bradshaw. So what is the psychology of Carrie Bradshaw? One of her most defining features, in my opinion, is insecurity. For example, she feels threatened by Mr. Big's ex-wife to the point where she starts copying her hair. She idealizes Big. She thinks that he's perfect, even when she doesn't even really know him. All she really knows about him when she idealizes him is just that he's rich, I guess. And she seems to have almost this inferiority complex about being with him because she's not as fancy as him. She doesn't have as fancy of an apartment, for instance. Instead of being secure with who she is as a person, because she devalues herself, she needs to idealize her romantic partner. Now, after her second breakup with Big, we see this sort of grandiose reaction formation coming up in Carrie, where she feels the need to tell her friends constantly how she was always too good for him and she's such a hot shot. That's very much meant to placate these underlying feelings of grief and worthlessness brought on by the grief and by the fact that Big kind of further beat her self-esteem into the ground. Then when Natasha and Big get into a relationship, I really think that Carrie begins the affair with Big, not because of Big, not because she loves him so much because he's such a great person. Because like I said, we really don't actually know that much about him, and I think that's because she doesn't know that much about him. I think the reason she starts the affair is because she feels threatened by Natasha. She sees a woman who is younger than her and poised and beautiful and so much classier, dear God. And it makes her feel bad. And so she needs to take her self-esteem up a notch by pulling one over on Natasha. When Carrie is with Aiden, we see how being in a healthy, secure relationship feels like a problem for her. It feels like something's amiss because she feeds on conflict and chaos. Unconsciously, she wants her low self-esteem to be confirmed. So when she's with a partner who treats her well, who doesn't further batter her self-esteem, it creates this sense of dissonance with her unconscious beliefs about herself, and she tries to sabotage it. And that's why she ends up cheating on Aiden and ends up with Big, because in the end, we all end up with people who reflect our self-worth. If we believe that we have no worth, then we stay in relationships with people who confirm that for us, versus the people who are in healthy relationships typically believe that they have things to offer the world, that they deserve better. Carrie even feels upstaged somehow when Samantha is in a lesbian relationship. Like, what does that even have to do with her? We see that she's so insecure that she needs the attention to be on her. She needs to be the one that is somehow like winning at these social relationships. She's also very sensitive to feedback, like when she gets drunk and lashes out for getting unfavorable feedback at Vogue, something that's pretty normal, you know. You go to work, you get constructive feedback, you have to incorporate it. No, that's not the route Carrie wants to take. Carrie wants to take the route of, let me get belligerently drunk and convince myself that I'm perfect and I don't need to incorporate this feedback. And she obsesses over the woman who implied that Carrie messed Aiden up after their second breakup. And she obsesses over the New York Times review of her book, suggesting that she thinks men are disposable. She cares so much about what high status people think of her, which is actually a sign of narcissism. Now, I don't think that Carrie necessarily meets the threshold for any personality disorder, but she definitely has a deep-seated insecurity that sometimes shares certain flavors with narcissism. I think another crucial part of Carrie's psychology is her disorganized attachment style. She clings to emotionally unavailable men because unconsciously she's afraid of intimacy. So if she pursues men who are unavailable and pushes away available ones like Aiden, then that means that unconsciously she'll get that need met. Unconsciously, she will be able to avoid intimacy. I remember the exact moment when it occurred to me that she has a disorganized attachment style. It was when she had just moved in with Aiden and she was complaining that she doesn't have alone time anymore, which, you know, that's fine. Some people need alone time. Nothing wrong with that. But what I thought was interesting was when she finally asked him for alone time, and he said, okay, go right ahead. Immediately, as soon as he said that, she came right back. She didn't need her alone time anymore. It's this push-pull dynamic where if she feels like somebody's invested in the relationship, she wants to push them away. But if she feels like they are giving her space, then she comes back and she tries to reel them back in. Another example of her disorganized attachment style is that she doesn't really see it going anywhere with Alexander Petrovsky until she finds out that he's had lots of girlfriends in the past. Again, she's attracted to the unavailability aspect of men. And she tends to fantasize about Big when things are kind of boring in her relationships because Big was, again, exciting and he confirmed her low self-esteem. And he was, again, emotionally unavailable. Also, Carrie is unable to regulate her own emotions. She has a pattern of very quickly rebounding after a guy or sleeping with a man because she can't handle her grief about her relationship ending. After her second breakup with Big, she would rather obsess and ruminate over her relationship with Big to her friends than go to therapy even after they give her an intervention and basically tell her like, yo, you should go to therapy. This is becoming a bit much. Her avoidance towards therapy is really interesting because it reveals how emotionally avoidant she is and how much she struggles with emotion regulation. And she dislikes her therapist for calling her out on being the common denominator in her relationships. Carrie struggles to take responsibility for herself. Another example that she can't take responsibility is when she's cheating on Aiden, she keeps repeating, I'm gonna get out, as if this isn't something she's doing herself, as if this is some external thing being imposed on her, when really it is her own choices leading to this outcome. And she can't sit with her own guilt when she sees Natasha out in town after the affair with Big is exposed, so she stalks Natasha to alleviate her guilt.
Finally, I'm sorry that you felt the need to come down here. Now, not only have you ruined my marriage, you've ruined my lunch.
Clearly, she doesn't care about what's actually best for Natasha. She just wants redemption. She just can't sit with her own feelings of guilt. And listen, after you've just been exposed for having an affair, feelings of guilt are normal to feel. That isn't something that you should want to push away by trying to force someone into forgiving you. Then after her relationship with Berger ends, she completely embarrasses herself to his friends at the club. Then she impulsively decides to get high with strangers because she has no distress tolerance. So when she's feeling embarrassed and ashamed of her behavior, she can't sit with that. And even up to the very end, she crumbles at the slightest stress in Paris. She crumbles over her shoe stepping in dog shit or not having anything to do during the day because she apparently can't keep herself busy. Now, we know very little about her origin story. All we really hear is that maybe she has issues with men because her dad left her when she was 5, but the show really doesn't go in a lot of emotional depth into these characters' histories or flesh them out as multifaceted characters, so that's really all I can say about it. The last thing I'll mention about Carrie Bradshaw's psychology is that she is a very bad friend. She starts neglecting her friends as soon as she starts dating Big. She blows off dinner with Miranda for Big, and it doesn't even seem like she was going to apologize or even tell her that she wasn't coming. She ditches Charlotte, who gave her a ticket to the opera because she saw Big across the amphitheater. She just always seems so disinterested in what her friends are sharing and just can't wait to change the subject back to herself. She also is constantly taking passive-aggressive jabs at her friends, particularly with slut-shaming Samantha. She loses Aiden's dog because she's distracted talking to Big. She tells Aiden she's having an affair right before Charlotte's wedding, which is possibly the worst moment for everyone involved. Not a care in the world for the effect it might have on her good friend Charlotte. She lashes out at Miranda for expressing concern over her again going back to Big, then somehow expects an apology from her. She sends Aiden to Miranda's house when Miranda is stranded with a cramp in her neck, naked on the floor. And then finally, when Carrie does go over to Miranda's place, she just talks about Aiden the whole time. Every time a boyfriend of hers meets her friends, she seems almost embarrassed of her friends, specifically slut-shaming them, and specifically she does that with Samantha a lot. She acts entitled to Charlotte's money. She makes Charlotte's birthday all about what she wants to do at Atlantic City instead of what Charlotte wants to do. She forces Samantha to go to her publishing party after a bad chemical peel. She gets called out by her friend for how she never shows an interest in her friends' relationships while she's ruminating about her own to them constantly. She convinces Samantha to take a 3-day-long train ride across the country and then kicks her out of a bubble bath so that she can sleep with Mr. Big. She leaves Charlotte blindfolded at the mall so that she can talk to her boyfriend on the phone, and then she ends up trying on shoes instead of trying to find Charlotte after they get lost. She calls to no-show lunch with her friends once they're already there because she doesn't feel like going out in the cold and she's holed up with her boyfriend. A lot of ways that Carrie seems like a bit of a pick-me who is willing to throw her friends under the bus anytime she's in a relationship. Now, what are Carrie's mistakes with Mr. Big specifically? I think her first mistake is all of the red flags that she ignores. How callous and invalidating Big is when he's responding to her concerns. His constant negging and just generally pompous attitude. The fact that he cheated on his ex-wife with her best friend. The fact that he explicitly stated to Carrie that he doesn't want to get married and Carrie does. The fact that he's such an asshole about her farting in front of him because he knows that it's something she's self-conscious about, so he continues to ridicule her about it. How he yells at her for making a move on him while he's trying to watch sports, and then he calls her nuts and asks what's wrong with her, and then he doesn't even follow her out when she runs out or apologize to her. How he refers to Carrie as my friend to his mom. How his friend who comes to Carrie's birthday party is a raging misogynist. How he won't sign a wedding card with her. How he takes a call during someone's wedding speech. He won't dance with her at the wedding, then he wants to leave the wedding early. How he tries to cancel on dinner with her friends. How he's too entitled to not smoke a cigar in a restaurant, even though, they're kind of perfect for each other in that regard because Carrie is also incredibly entitled when it comes to her smoking throughout the show. How he makes her wait for long hours and then doesn't even seem sorry and tells her she should have just gone to a coffee shop. How he doesn't have any empathy for the fact that he knocked her off the bed at night. How he can't say I love you back. How he quite casually tells her she's being a bitch. How he's embarrassed by her at a party. How when she starts leaving things at his place, he brings them back to her. How he explicitly says he has no interest in living with her and loves that they live separately. How he seems to not care at all that he's moving to Paris for a year and that he's going to be separated from her. How he doesn't even fight for her when she ends things. How he didn't even end up going to Paris, but he didn't even tell her. How he gets engaged so fast after all his commitment issues. How much of a stalker he acts like when she's with Aiden and he's trying to get her to have an affair with him. It's so disrespectful how he speaks about his wife during that whole thing, and he borderline assaults Carrie in the elevator. That's how stalkerish his behavior is. And during the affair, he starts to get really possessive, and we see this kind of scary side to Big, where she even worries that he's going to call Aiden and tell him everything. Then when they try being friends, how he vividly describes sleeping with another woman to her, even though they're just friends. I just feel like that's not appropriate to do with someone whose heart you broke multiple times. When she invites Big to Aiden's cabin, Big doesn't even come in, he just honks at her to come out to his car through the rain. Then he gets so drunk he can't drive back, and he doesn't seem to show any remorse to Aiden for the affair that they had, doesn't even really apologize to him. So this is all like one mistake that Carrie made, was ignoring all of these incredibly concerning red flags. But there were a lot of other mistakes that she made as well, starting from the very beginning, how she slept with him on the first date. Look, there are lots of relationships that start out with more of a physical component in this day and age in particular, and there's nothing wrong with that, and they do sometimes end up to be very happy relationships. But would I recommend that if this is somebody that you really like? No, I can't say that I do, because In men's eyes, it sort of puts you in one category. And if this is somebody that you want to really develop emotional connection with and date long term, that's probably not a category that you benefit being put into. Carrie later shows up drunk at his apartment to confront him about whether he's embarrassed of being seen with her. Yeah, again, is not something I would recommend. If you're worried that somebody's embarrassed of being seen with you, then probably you should take a step back from the relationship if you see that, or calmly express to them how you feel rather than showing up in a really emotional moment when you're drunk at their apartment. Carrie also assumes that the fact that they were having a good time together meant that they were exclusive, even though that wasn't something they ever explicitly discussed. Generally speaking, in American culture, I know it's different in other cultures, I think it's a pretty safe bet to assume that you're single until otherwise explicitly stated. Then that night, she tries to get him jealous by going home with another man, and she calls him to tell him. Now, if she actually wanted to win back the power in that relationship, she'd stop contacting him and move on with her life. And not just sleep with someone just to make herself feel better either, because that guy can then do the same thing that Big did. He can also break her heart, and then she's gonna feel doubly as bad. Carrie also stalks Big's ex-wife, which doesn't make sense to me. It's just like, why does she feel threatened by her? Well, we know why, because she has an inferiority complex, but she definitely shouldn't have done that. If she wanted to play it cool, if she wanted to seem like the new woman in Big's life, then she should have seemed completely unbothered about his ex-wife. Then the way that she confronts Big for not wanting to get married is she pretends she doesn't care, and then she passive-aggressively keeps bringing it up. And then eventually when she explodes, she just accepts it without even the two of them having a real honest discussion about it. I think a healthier approach would be, in the moment when you hear that, when you hear someone say, I don't ever want to get married again, is to say, oh, that might be a problem because I do. And then have a conversation about it. And if you see that that person has an incompatibility with you, ultimately remove yourself. She also invites herself to Sunday church with Mr. Big and his mom, even after he tells her no. And then she goes to spy on them from a distance and obviously embarrasses herself. Again, this is a situation where she shouldn't really even have to beg for him to introduce her to his mom. And when she sees the writing on the wall about that, she should just take a step back. She tells Big that she needs a sign that they're heading in the direction of Sirius, instead of just paying attention to the fact that they're clearly not. And she outwardly asks him to tell her that she's the one. Again, even when clearly she's not, because he's not that into her the first time they date. A way smarter way to play it would have been for her to just see the truth for what it is and walk away and distance herself. So then they have breakup number 1. And then after breakup number 1, she goes into debt over a dress she hopes is going to make him jealous when he sees her out. She invites Big to her birthday party after they break up, all because his secretary sent her flowers for her birthday. She calls Big for dinner for no reason after a funeral, and then she hooks up with him. And it's just so clear that, she still has feelings for him. She still wants him in her life, but it's such a bad idea. It should be a clean break. I don't think you need to try to be friends with your ex right after a breakup. Just give it some distance, let it cool down. Then she says, I love you to him first, even when it's pretty clear he's given no indication that he loves her back. If you genuinely love someone, you think they probably love you back. There's nothing wrong with saying I love you first. But if you're in doubt about whether they're going to say it back, I don't know. I personally would wait for the other person to say it first. Or just, again, see the truth for what it is and walk away and realize, I don't think this person feels the same way about me that I feel about them, so maybe I'm going to go on to better things now. Carrie also passive-aggressively leaves things at his place instead of just asking for a drawer. Here, I really think, the mature thing would have been to just say, hey, do you mind if I have a drawer to leave some stuff here because I spend a lot of time here? Or again, just walk away if it seems like he's uncomfortable with that because clearly you're not on the same page. She drunk calls him at 5:30 a.m. to pick a fight over Paris. Then she bursts in the next day wearing a bunch of embarrassing Parisian stuff, acting over the top like nothing's wrong. And then, of course, when things blow over, she freaks out. She throws food at him, even when he clearly doesn't want her there. She should have just played it cool, admitted that she has hurt feelings about the fact that he is so callous about moving to Paris, and distanced herself. So then they experience breakup number 2. After breakup number 2, she again sleeps with him, despite the fact that they're not getting back together. Acts visibly weird and sad when she sees him with Natasha. If she really wanted to play it cool, she would have just been friendly, but maybe a little bit uninterested and just went on to mindfully enjoy the party so that he would have been like, oh, she doesn't seem that bothered. Versus because she seems so bothered, there's no way he's not doing a power trip inside his head. Then she calls him afterwards for no reason and hangs up when he picks up. She proposes to be friends with him. She invites him to lunch for no good reason. She then ruins the lunch and flips out on him when she finds out he's engaged. Which, again, the way to prevent this would have been to have never invited him to lunch in the first place, because there's no reason to need to be friends with your ex like that. Then she shows up to his engagement party and flirts with him, which again feels like more about pulling one on Natasha than about actually liking Big. And then, of course, she cheats on Aiden with Big, which I don't think I even need to explain how messed up that is. So then they experience breakup number 3, when both of their relationships blow up because of the affair. And after that, she calls Big on her birthday to leave a pathetic voicemail about how she's so old now and to invite him to her birthday party. And again, why is she trying to stay friends right after such a messy breakup? And then she's just having fun with Big. She's not dating him. She's not sleeping with him. And she gets mad at her friends for saying they think it's a bad idea, which most definitely is. Then when she gets back together with Aiden, I was shocked that she didn't end her friendship with Big, even after Aiden asked her to. I mean, there is no reason why she needed to be friends with him. But to be back in a relationship with the person whose heart you broke, and to demand that you continue to be friends with the person you cheated on them with, is just like, that's so unreasonable. Like, there's no universe in which that's okay to do. And then she even leaves Aiden's cabin to go on this like romantic dinner with Big that like from the outside looks so much like a date. And then she takes a call from Big to let him vent about his relationship when she's just about to go to sleep with Aiden. She wants the 3 of them to go to dinner together, and then she invites Big over to Aiden's cabin. Again, it's so insensitive to Aiden's feelings. If you cheat on somebody, that person is completely within their right to not want you to have any contact with that person. But of course, I have to wonder, what is Aiden's self-esteem also? Because it must not be very high if he continues to go back to Carrie. And throughout her friendship with Big while she's with Aiden, she is so flirty with Big. And then of course she goes back to him after the second breakup with Aiden. And then eventually they experience breakup number 4, her and Big. And in the final couple episodes, when Big has this epiphany that she's the one, he was wrong, he needs to finally be emotionally available for her, I think that for the most part she was playing it well by just saying like, no, stop, like I've had enough of you, like you keep playing with my heartstrings, like no. However, I thought it was immature that she wouldn't even let him talk while he was giving this big epiphany. She just kind of avoids communication when things get tough. And then she starts screaming at him in the middle of the street, acting so childish. And it's like, I thought that she said she was over him. I thought she said she was perfectly fine with just being friends. So where is this coming from? And then, of course, she immediately rebounds back to Big like 5 minutes after breaking up with the Russian. It really pissed me off how she kept calling Alexander the Russian, because it's so fetishizing, and honestly combined with like the moments throughout the show where Carrie was racist towards different people, like the black accent she pulls out every time she's surrounded by black people. I mean, it's not surprising, but imagine you're about to move across continents with your long-term partner and their name in your phone is the Russian. Anyway, so my takeaways from this fairy tale between the insecure woman and the emotionally unavailable man is that if somebody is giving you red flag after red flag, instead of trying to get them to reassure you that really they do care about you, just see the truth for what it is, man, and just walk away. And when something bothers you about your partner's behavior, say so right away, instead of pretending everything's fine and then having passive-aggressive blowout later. Carrie's character also really emphasizes the importance of learning emotion regulation and impulse control and distress tolerance, of fostering a secure attachment style. She's a lesson in not going back to people who have shown themselves to be bad for us, and in not being so much of a pick-me that it makes us a bad friend to our female friends. What did you think about all this? I hope it was entertaining to watch me rant about a fictional character for 30 minutes or however long this video turns out. Do you relate to Carrie a little bit? Do you feel like she's incredibly frustrating? Do you actually really like Carrie's character? Because I've heard some people also have that take. Let me know down below. I hope you have a nice rest of your week, and I'll see you soon.